What happens when the wheel you plan to ride into retirement starts to go flat?
I could have stayed in the matrix. I could have stayed in the system. Work, pay bills.
Rising costs, pensions you can't live off of, side hustles into your 70s, fear-filled headlines about foreign countries. Do you stay on the hamster wheel or get off?
I realized, hey, we're not out here because we want to be. We're out here because we have to be.
After 27 years of teaching and designing curriculum in Atlanta, Queen D. Michele, author, educator, and nonprofit founder, moved to Mexico's Lake Chapala.
Wow. We are literally in paradise. From the magic of the mountains to the beauty of the lake.
The warnings were loud though. Danger, cartels, risk.
Are you crazy? What? Mexico? Are you really? With the drugs and the cartel and this foreign. But here's the thing about that. That's what the system wants people to believe. You don't want to go there. This is the best place to be. Stay here and work for us. The American dream.
But outside the US, narrative met reality.
Media can paint a picture of what it's really not.
Her lived experience, routine, community, everyday contentment.
I have never felt my life was threatened. And listen, I'm a female and I'm alone in another country.
Distance stripped the noise and opened a doorway to ancestry and self-discovery.
I stepped foot in my ancestral village.
If the system tells you to grind, do you listen?
I didn't owe anyone or anything my life. It was mine.
For someone who's still on the fence about moving abroad, what's one internal shift they can make for a change to take place for them?
You know what they have to do? They have to...
Hi, Queen. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, when I saw you on Podmatch, I thought we'd be a good fit for an interesting conversation. And you spent a lot of time abroad and traveling, and you used to live in Atlanta, and you were a school teacher, and you retired at 54. Is that correct?
52, but with 27 years. I was an elementary and middle school teacher.
52. Okay.
Wow.
So when did you first realize that, life in the US or in Atlanta wasn't what you wanted after you retired, but, what kind of pushed you to consider, or what made you want to leave Atlanta?
That first year after retirement, it was pretty cool because, I looked at my pension, looked at my first pension. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to supplement that. Because that pension just basically paid the rent. That was it. In the beginning, I was cool with that because, hey, after 27 years of being regulated by bells, bell to start the day, a bell to eat lunch, a bell to end the day. So getting out there in the world and, doing some side hustles to supplement my pension, that first year was pretty cool. I mean, look, I did some remote teaching online, in China, on China time. I did some remote curriculum design work. And after about a year of that, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to always have to do this. I'm going to always have to work to supplement my pension. And it kind of hit me. I didn't want to be 70 years old saying, welcome to Walmart. I saw the greeters and the hustlers out there just like me, all of that. I realized, hey, we're not out here basically because we want to be. So we're out here because we have to be. See, I didn't want to work until I couldn't work anymore, due to health and age, and then live substandardly because I wasn't working, and here's the catch there. I could have stayed on the wheel. I could have stayed in the matrix. I could have stayed in the system, given over my time. And I would only be doing that to pay bills. There would be no weekend getaways. There wouldn't be any fine dining, any concerts. And I just felt like in that moment, I didn't owe anyone or anything my life. It was mine. Right? So I started researching.
Okay, but before we get into that, can we just rewind a little bit, because there's a lot there that
I know, right?
I wanna unpack, because some of it dovetails into my most I actually just published the episode this morning with Brian Clark. So he's a Gen Xer who his like thesis is that, you know, the kind of old way we retire is changing, and that we can no longer, as like what you said, is you discovered that, hey, my social security doesn't cover my standard
Oh,
of living,
God.
and that's what it's supposed to do, but yet it doesn't. And
No.
you've had to supplement income, and I know that you said, you know, and you said, well, I didn't want to have to do this for the rest of my life, but it's interesting that you have found sort of a new way of keeping busy, and I assume some of this is making you income as well, and that's sort of his main thesis. But it's really interesting too, because he's talking about this now, but this is, you're mentioning this from 10 years ago, so this is like a serious issue that's been going on for a long time. Like,
A
you know, 10
long
years ago you're like,
time.
I can't live on this, so like,
Oh,
and you know, and
and
here it
see,
is.
and here's the thing. What if I did though? See, and that's just it. I could have easily just, just fell in line, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
stayed on that wheel, and supplemented my income and continued to work until I couldn't work anymore. I could be doing that right now. But
Mm-hmm.
then there would be no book that I wrote, Considerations, a Guide for Moving Abroad, that
Mm-hmm.
help other people to 10 chapters, each chapter a consideration. Consider consider visas,
Mm-hmm.
consider downsizing, consider healthcare,
And I guess consider, which is one of the things he talks about too, is consider like what he calls strategic relocation, which sounds exactly what you did. You researched all these different countries and discovered, hey, I can move to Mexico and the weather's beautiful, and I can
Yes,
live like a more relaxed life, and it's no doubt
yes.
it's much more affordable for you to live there. Yeah, it's just interesting to see. This is episode 10 for me, so it's interesting to see how all these kind of conversations kind of are coming together, and the themes that are forming, and just the fact that like this is like the beginning of your story is super interesting, considering, yeah, my last episode literally sets the groundwork for this exact idea, and this is, and
Wow.
you're like now like a practical application of honestly like what he's talking about, but you don't even necessarily know
Wow.
what, that he is talking about this stuff right now, or maybe you do. I don't know. It's super super interesting.
I had this epiphany. I started researching the top 10 places to retire. I was in a magazine. The universe is perfect. It'll put things in front of you as your soul calls out for it. And so I came across an article, the top 10 places to retire. And at that time, we're talking 2016. It was Costa Rica, Panama, Mexico, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Thailand, Colombia. And I researched them all, but I was living in Atlanta, and Mexico checked all the boxes for me. Of course, Mexico has 32 states, and I landed in the state of Jalisco. Jalisco houses the largest freshwater lake in the country of Mexico. That lake is called Lake Chapala. Now, surrounding that lake are little towns and villages, but on the north shore of that lake is the largest expat community in the country of Mexico.
Hmm.
Expat being expatriate, uh, those who are citizens in one country but reside in another. I lived there for 4 years. I lived there for 4 years. I lived, moved, and had my beingness. It was there that I started a brand. I became an author, a blogger, started writing books. It was an experience, I tell you, beyond my wildest dreams. Now, it checked all the boxes for me because number one, it was a 3.5 nonstop airline flight from Atlanta into Guadalajara. Guadalajara being the capital of Jalisco. Box one. Box number two was climate. National Geographic stated that that region of Lake Chapala is the second best climate in the world
Mm.
because it's eternally spring. See, it's a wet spring and a dry spring, but spring nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
all year round. Beautiful weather. And box number two. And then that third box was the expat community. Talk about landing safely and softly and smoothly into a foreign country, until you got your bearings, until you got your feet. That was very comfortable for me. Uh, and so did my research for a year and a half, well, about a year. And I mean, I checked every box as far as how I was going to exit the country, and land softly. And of course, I ran into all of the uh, are you crazy? What? Mexico? Are you really? With the drugs and the cartel and this foreign. Yeah. But here's the thing about that. That's what the system wants people to believe. They want people to believe, oh, you don't want to go there. It's terrible over there. This is the best place to be. Stay here in the system. Work for us. The American dream. Do that. You don't want to do that other thing. But here's the thing. We walked around uh, Lake Chapala, man. We call it Lakeside, that North Shore. I mean, we walking around smiling, winking, damn near winking at one another, because it's like, man, you got out, huh? You did too, yeah. It's this feeling of, wow, we are literally in paradise. It felt that way. I mean, from the magic of the mountains to the beauty of the lake. There's even a vortex there. For those who are familiar with and understand the energy that vortexes have, and my, I had a spiritual awakening there. My whole paradigm shifted. My consciousness shifted, just being open to what truly is.
Yeah, no, it's super super interesting. So there's you have your permanent residency.
I do.
So is
I
this
do.
is this one of your considerations? I know you mentioned visas.
Absolutely. Consider visas, and the story behind that, again, trusting and knowing that the universe is perfect. You had, and mind you, this is back in 2016. So, and I didn't quite meet the financial. I was hoping I could probably get temporary and
Mhm.
then do the 4 years and then roll into permanent. And my fingers was crossed because I just quite didn't make it. But the day that I went to the consulate in Atlanta, the day that I went, the day that my appointment was, and I brought everything, all the requirements, and I was, oh God, I hope the person who, dots the I's and crosses the T's and all of that was on vacation. And the gentleman said, "Oh, so you're retired?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, come on.
That's
Talk
awesome.
about the stars aligning.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on."
That's awesome. And
Okay.
it's a meme here too in Belize. It's just like, yeah, your experience at the immigration department is just totally determined by just the mood of the person that day. And in this case, it was that person just wasn't even there. That's awesome. Do you have any insights for people for residency process in Mexico? What's that like?
At this point now, it's so different than what it was in 2016. With just the whole changing of, we have a female president here in
Mm-hmm.
in in Mexico. And then the whole border immigration, uh, political climate, and things that's going on right now. There's still it's the same process as it relates to residency, going down to the uh, making an appointment actually for the consulate in their state. Some people in the United States, they don't have a Mexican consulate in there. I was very fortunate once again to be living in Atlanta and
Mm-hmm.
had a Mexican consulate there. Some people have to go to other states, right?
Mm-hmm.
To start that whole process. And then I hear it's very expensive now. I don't know. I researched how much it would cost during the time that I was, but today, who's to say how? I have no idea, but I would tell them, first of all, you're going to have to just research. Now that you can easily research, what is the criteria at this point for residency? in
Hmm.
Mexico or any other. See, because considerations, a guide for moving abroad, it's just basic considerations for you to move anywhere.
Hmm.
To Belize, to Colombia, to Thailand. It's just these considerations. Chapter 1 is just faith versus fear, right? That whole thing about can I, should I, is this possible? Can we really live abroad
Yeah.
outside this country?
Yeah, that's
Just
a
that
incredibly
alone,
important question, right? Most people are just
right?
like, no, I can't do it. I have all these
Exactly.
ties,
Just
these
that alone.
excuses, right?
Chapter 2, consider finances. Chapter 3, consider a visa. Chapter 4, consider research. Just where you going? What's it like that? Consider downsizing, consider healthcare, consider transportation, consider families and friends, consider communication, consider a recon visit.
As a side
I
note,
didn't
have
do a
you?
recon. I didn't do a recon visit when I moved to
Oh no.
Mexico. Oh no, I didn't. Listen, when my flight landed and I took that cab to my one bed, one bath condo, a fireplace and a mirador that overlooked the lake. It was gated, had a swimming pool, laundry room, rent, which was $500 a month, US. It
Well.
listen. That's what research would do for you to help you land very, very softly. You don't have to leave things to chance, and I would
Hmm.
suggest that you don't.
Have you considered Substack for your content?
Actually, I just got on Substack, and get this, I did a blog called Keeping Tabs in Mexico. Uh, that was kind of like an extenuation of the book. Okay, I'm there now, right? So what's going on? So I did. It's 12 chapters of just different things that was going on with me, during my time. I was there during COVID, so there's a
Mm.
chapter on that. There's a chapter, a blog on just the energy of Lakeside, the butterfly excursion I did in Morelia, the bus ride, just the bus service Lakeside. So that is on Substack. It's so funny that you would ask me that.
So earlier on in the conversation, you mentioned when you said you wanted to move to Mexico, you had a lot of people saying, "Oh my God, like why are you moving there? It's dangerous." And I know I've had other people on that live in Mexico, and so based on your experience, like how real are the risks? And like what do most like people in Canada and the US, what did they misunderstand about safety in Mexico?
Safety, I have never been accosted. Nothing has ever been stolen from me. I have never felt my life was threatened. And listen, I'm a female and I'm alone in another country.
Hmm.
Now it was like I said, it was a very soft landing. Anyone, if you're truly concerned, and of course you would be, about safety, uh, you do your research and you talk to those expats in in the area where you're looking to connect with them, before you even get there, when it comes to safety, because those are the ones who are already there, those boots on the ground. They can paint the true picture as it relates to safety. They, and with media can put so much out there and paint a picture of what it's really not. Again, that research is so important, because there are, I would suggest to anyone who's really considering, I bet you there's a Facebook group out there that will help you, because I identified with at least 3 different groups, and I was on that group and following the threads, and really finding out the truth of where I was living. But my safety has had never ever been I wasn't concerned as a black woman by myself moving to moving abroad to another country. I wouldn't have common sense would have told me don't move into a place that is so local, you know, that there's, you know, it's very few expats and you don't speak the language very well. Because I don't, still don't speak the language that well. You know, I just didn't become fluent uh as well as I should. I mean, I know a lot of words. God, I know a lot of words. And I can read, you know,
Hmm.
very well, but speak it, oh man, I'm still fumbling uh with that. But I get by. I get
Yeah.
by.
I think the key often is that you kind of just try, right? You put in that effort, kind of show that you're trying, and then people are a lot more sort of accepting of your
Now,
lack
do you speak
of lack of
Spanish?
knowledge.
Like yesterday, this is what I told the cab driver. I had to go pick up a lampshade that I ordered at in Central at DHL, and I wanted him I wanted him to wait for me while I picked up the package and then drop me off at the local store, Chedraway, and I probably don't even pronounce that right. So this is what I said to him: "Tu espera un momento, entonces Chedraway." That's there's my sentence. Hey, wait for me while I go in here and pick up this package, then drop me off at Chedraway.
Hey,
He
right,
got
and
it. He
he
understood
understood
it.
what you meant, and he did it. So,
Yes.
um, so you mentioned, yeah, being a Black American woman living abroad or living in Mexico.
Mhm.
How do you feel your race has shaped how you're received, and how safe you feel in Mexico, and like
Mm.
maybe how is that different than how you felt in the U.S.?
Ah, you know, the Lakeside, it's the largest expat community. And I was one of the few Black women that had arrived at that time. Now, Lakeside does have quite a large Black female for the most part, not too many males, but females, middle aged or older women living, Black women living
Hmm.
Lakeside. And I kind of think I was, you know, I was a part of that. 4 months after moving there, I ran into one of the people I followed before moving there was Jerry Brown Travels. He's on YouTube. He's an older white guy, him and his wife Lori. Uh, I watched all his videos. And then 4 months after living there, I saw him walking and I ran out. I was like, "Hey, I know you," you know, and and I watched all your videos. And he asked me, "Would you mind being, you know, interviewed?" I said, "Sure."
Hmm.
And of course, I was the first Black woman that he had ever uh, interviewed because again, it's filled with Americans and Canadians, but they're, you know, they're all white, you know, who figured out the secret. Not that, like I say, not too many Black. And he had me on his show, and man, I tell you, he said that interview blew up his
Hmm.
because they like, wow, they actually saw a Black woman there. And sometimes that's what they need to see. They need to see that someone's there, that someone's doing it, and they'll do it too. Um, and I the population has. I truly believe more Black people are starting to live abroad. There's Facebook groups out called like Black Sick, and you know these
Oh,
all
really?
of these groups where we connect and we're saying, hey y'all, we're out here now. Look, you can do this too, and they are. They're
Yeah.
starting, and it's not just Mexico, babe. It's that they are moving to Thailand
In
and
China,
yes,
there's
you,
I've been following a few sort of like Black couples and Black creators on TikTok, and they're like
yes.
all seem to like live in China. And but yeah, I would agree. I see more and more, and even here too in Belize, there's more like Black people coming down
You
and
just you
and
just
and
you
moving
got to
here?
show them that it can be done. There's a female. Her name is Stephanie Perry, and they just had a summit. This it's called Exodus, the Exodus Summit, and this is maybe the third or fourth time that they've done it. Um, and so it's the Summit 2025, and it is huge. The number of people that are now on, they're online, going to the summit, and they're learning to how to exit, you know.
Hmm.
And it's called Exodus, the Exodus Summit 2025. And she's a huge presence on YouTube. She's a huge presence on YouTube. And there's, like you said, there's couples, the Yarboroughs, and other uh people, black, women and men and couples who have done it, and they're saying, hey, they're waving the flag, and they're saying, and it's not just for Mexico, it's in Portugal, it's
Hmm.
in Thailand, like you said, it's in China, it's in Colombia. They're doing it, and they're moving not just the older, people, but families, you
Hmm.
know couples with families are exiting. And I think it's fantastic, just to, and they're going there with the right reason. I mean, they're going there in the right frame of mind, not going there trying to change or trying to bring America with you.
Yeah.
Please don't do that. Uh,
Yeah, they're going there with like an open mind and like with an
yes,
embrace of like cultural
there
and
we
like
go.
a connection to the world and stuff, right? Which is
That's
like
right.
very important, I think, if you're going to move abroad, if you
That's
want to
right.
be accepted and you want to be um there's like a dichotomy here in Belize. Like there's a lot of kind of foreigners who come in and they try to just like impose their systems from back home,
I've seen
and
it.
and
I've seen it.
and the
Yeah, and
Belizean
they
people
call
do not like
Lakeside
it.
Gringo Land.
Yeah.
There's a lot of you talk to certain people, they're like, man, no, I don't want to go Lakeside, because they have truly, it is mm, you don't have to speak Spanish almost on that North Shore, and they're
Hmm.
kind of cut off. They're in these gated condos and what have you, and they have their own uh way of being, their American way of being, and they really don't mix with the locals. But get this, they also, the locals cool with it because it helps feed them. You know what I'm saying? When COVID hit, you should have saw how they really took care of that North Shore. Like, they wouldn't let you, couldn't even get in too much from Guadalajara. It was one way in and one way out, and they was
Hmm.
blocking it. Because get this, had COVID came in and it had hit that older retirement, you know,
Hmm.
uh, gringo uh, population, it would have wiped them out, and air went their economy. So they took
Hmm.
very good care of us on that North Shore, and protected us during COVID. Made sure that we got our food and our medication, and we
Interesting.
stayed. Yeah, I
Interesting.
talk
Yeah.
about that in one of the blogs on Substack. Uh,
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll follow you.
it's
I didn't think to look if you to see if you were on there, but yeah, I'll follow you when it's once we're done here. So I know you're a spiritual person. You've written
very
that
much
your
so.
time abroad sparked an awakening. So how did being in Mexico or just moving abroad sort of influence that process, that occurrence
hmm
for you?
See, here's the thing: when you're on the wheel, when you're in the matrix, when you're a part of the system, you it's normal, and it feels normal, for you to grind, for you to get up and go to work and work and pay bills, and get up and go to work and pay bills, and then you feel comfortable with that little crumb of a weekend, that they throw at you, or that 2-week vacation, that you get, if you get it, if it's paid, and it's the constant distraction. They keep you distracted, they keep you, you know grinding. And then for someone who's retired, I was still grinding, retired, but grinding. But then I moved out of the country, and it was this. this opportunity without the distractions to turn inward. See, they don't want you to turn inward. But by all means, that even as far as religion is concerned, please don't go inward. You got see, cause the big man sits on high and he looks down low. You got to go out to a church. You got to go out to an edifice. To receive this, even that. But don't turn in. Pray out. But even and people really miss this, when Jesus did say, hey, look, the kingdom of God is within, you know, and, and that's what Jesus was. He was conscious. He was the most metaphysical teacher, out there. He said, hey, the king is within. All the rest of that, if you can go inside. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of that had I stayed on the wheel, had I stayed distracted, had I stayed grinding, had I stayed taking the medications, that keep you. They don't want you to get better, in that sense, mind, body. And so just enough to keep you on the wheel, keep them well enough to keep them on the wheel, but get off, and naturally the food itself, think about it, a healthy chickpea salad, if you will, that's $20, but a cheeseburger is 99 cents. You can't even eat healthy. You can't afford to, So you have all this processed food and there's so many things you wake up to once you're out of it and you can look at it and you can turn inward, because that's when I met myself. That's when I met, and it feels natural to be led, live, move, and have your beingness being driven by your ego. And that's the whole thing. You're either ego driven, that means that you're living through the programs and conditioning that came in from the time you were able to speak, to understand, you are either being led by your ego, and it feels normal. I get it. It feels normal, but that is simply conditioning and programming. So you're either being led by your ego or you're being led by your soul self. And if you're being led by your soul self, you're living from within out, not out. Your ego is out. That's conditioning and programming, no doubt about it. But
so your move abroad essentially allowed you to like recapture more time to to think about, to compare your like life back home to what you see now. And we like moving here definitely has done. We've reclaimed so much more time, and it's funny, and it does it begins to change the way you like see your home country, and just like the busyness and the consumerism and kind of the craziness in the politics.
That wheel.
Yeah. And it's just
those
like
distractions, that they tell you, that's ego. That's ego. And I know, and listen, and it's not to say ego has its place. It really does. Ego has three functions. So number one, it is a defense mechanism. It's that whole fight or flight. Also a thought producer. Okay. Ego is a thought producer, and it's a thought processor. Okay. Process the thoughts that come in, but you really can't stop what thoughts come in, but it's how you direct them. And it's either you being led by ego or you being led by your soul. So the ego has a general purpose, but it's not the general. The ego needs to be in the backseat. You feel me? Serving its purpose. You good? Serving its purpose. And your soul self needs to be, that's your co-pilot, listening to, go left, go right, talk to her, say this, call him, do that. That still soft voice. That's soul. That's your soul self. So if you can connect with it and be led from within out, there you go. You got it. But you can't really connect with that when you are so distracted and or understanding that to connect with your soul self, you have to do these other things, religious, religion
Hmm.
wise, you have to do these other things uh to get, and you have to do it properly. See, because you can say the prayer, but if you don't say it and end it with in Jesus name, then it's not valid. It's like, wow, but I get it. It's all about programming. It's all about conditioning. It's all about staying on that wheel to the system, you know. That's why when you first come out, they give you a number. First thing they give you when you come out is a social security number. Before you even leave the hospital, you
Hmm.
know, you're tagged, you got a number. And and there we go. We're on the wheel now. And you first start experiencing your world through your senses, through what you smell, see, and taste, and hear, and touch. That pulls you more and more into your humanness and away from that what's truly on the inside, that soul self.
I really like that. The ego has a general purpose, but it's not the general. That's
Okay.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
So as I did this deep dive, and as intuitive, as I am, you know, it was shown to me and it became to me that all that work that I did in Mexico, it was never for the audience I had intended it for,
Hmm.
that I thought it was for. It was always for Generation Alpha. They are the first generation to be born fully in the 21st century. Generation Alpha has been clicking and swiping since infancy.
Hmm.
You understand that? Since infancy. They are a different breed. They are responsible for the conscious evolution of humanity. They have an extremely, extremely important role. And we're kind of missing the mark with them. What's needed for them, there's no balance of that social and emotional intelligence, that conscious social and emotional intelligence that's needed for the world in which they're going. We're not preparing them for that because everything has always been external. External stimuli, period. So there's no conscious movement inward. And I get it, I get the millennials. I understand, because for us, for those generations before them, see, Sesame Street went off. those programs went off. Their world is 24/7, and when they were clicking and swiping, the millennials said, "Oh wow, man, I can get this paper done. Oh, man, I can get the dishes done. Oh man, I can get this meal on the because that was different. And plus, they're trying to keep up.
Um, I have two boys. They're 3.5 and 5, so they're at the later end of this generation.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I was just kind of Googling conscious curriculum, and you've already sort of explained why this generation is so important, just because they're so like
yes,
locked into the digital world that it's important for us to like
exactly.
kind of break them. I know. I mean, we see them. We put an iPad in front of them. They're just like,
Oh, they're
and
a different breed.
you gotta break them out. So
They are a different breed, no doubt.
and it's been good with being here in Belize because we actually can we have the opportunity to kind of get out on the water and go to the
Right,
jungle and do things, and it's a lot more within
right.
reach than it was where we lived in Canada, in Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
We can literally we were just at a place called Maya King Waterfalls on the weekend, and it's right in the jungle in the mountains, and it's only like a 15-minute drive for us.
Mm.
Whereas anything like that in Canada, I mean, well, yeah, there's no jungle, so we
Oh, how
wouldn't
about
quite
that?
be able
Right.
to do that. But even to get to a park, like a national park or something like that, or into the mountains, this is like a big trip, right? So we can do
Mm-hmm.
that all here, and it's been great. So because we can break them sort of out of that digital world, and they can get to experience kind of the physical world, and you see the jungle and nature, and you know, and this is always kind of something that comes up, just like thinking like, you always wonder, you have kids and we move when they're young, like, were we doing the right thing?
Oh,
And so
absolutely are.
how do you see sort of living abroad helping sort of like Gen Alpha kids, kind of like,
You're already a
yeah.
step ahead, sweetie. You are a step ahead right now because you can detach. You can, you know, turn it off, and they can see and feel. And because when you're out there in the jungle, that's energy. That in them breathing in that energy, that air, seeing that water, walking along, that is that's inward work right there. They're seeing you're ahead of the game. To be honest with you, I would hope that uh more parents and would could or would be able to do that for their children living abroad, giving them that experience. But if not, taking this type of curriculum. So 52 Insights for Living New Earth Now actually became 52 Insights for Gen Alpha, a conscious curriculum. And basically the curriculum focuses on self-awareness through activities that foster, check this out, mindfulness, self-management, relationship skills, social awareness, and conscious decision making.
Hmm.
Okay, that where's that class, right? uh Especially at the middle school level. This was for that 12, 13 and 14-year old, because that's really my expertise. Because understand, I brought all that I know as a teacher and a curriculum designer, uh and the lessons I created 52 lessons for that book, 52 Insights. Now
Hmm.
those insights have a lesson. I piloted this program in 2 middle schools
Hmm.
in Detroit the last school year, 2024. And it was hard trying to get into a school to let me, pilot this program. But again, the universe is perfect. I was able to get in, and boy, did I learn a lot. I have such a great feeling about how it's going to get out into the into the marketplace and into generation. I have a 7-year-old grandson, and it's my hope that when he's uh 13, or when he hits middle school, that there is a curriculum or at least a class that he goes to, that just kind of helps him understand how to shut off that external stimuli, go within, make those conscious decisions, become socially aware, self-management, relationship skills. These are
Well,
exercises
good
and
to know.
practices
I'm
and
gonna, yeah, I'm gonna look into
balances, and,
that,
and, and
your
puts
work
those
on this a little bit
tools
more.
in their hands
Sounds,
that
it
helps
definitely
them
sounds fascinating.
navigate their world.
I just want to touch on your time in Africa. You had your DNA tested, and it,
Yes.
you've revealed this whole sort of hidden history. So, what part of your identity in like that discovery of that ancestry was the
Mm.
most tested? Like, what changed? What
My
changed after finding
the
that information?
spirituality. What happened was a connection uh spiritually with my ancestors. So do you understand? So now there's an activation of my African spirituality. I practice African spirituality now. I practice
Hmm.
ancestor divination. You know,
Hmm.
uh and I connect with them, and I'm led, guided, and directed by them. I honor them in a way that I've never have before. I feel chosen by them, um, as it relates to to the bloodline. Do you know? Ancestry, ancestry.com.
Yep.
You ever heard of ancestry.com?
Yep.
Yeah. If you take that DNA test, they'll tell you that you're a little bit of this, you're a little bit of that, and your region is over there. But over 20 years ago, a group of Black scientists got together and they created the largest database of Black blood in the world.
Hmm.
It's called African ancestry. Now, you take that DNA test, not only will it tell you what country your bloodline originated in, it'll also tell you your tribe.
Hmm.
So now Africa has 3,000 tribes and
Oh, wow.
2,000 languages. Okay,
Wow.
it is huge, right? 54 sovereign countries with their own money and their own government. So anyway, I took that DNA test and discovered that my original bloodline maternally originated in the country of Guinea-Bissau, West Africa. And it's a tiny country right on that western coastline, if you will, of Africa. Now, anyone really taking that test, they'll probably discover that one of those countries on that western coastline is where that original bloodline originated, because of course that's where the Atlantic slave trade took place. So I had never even heard of Guinea-Bissau.
I looked it up because I had never heard of it either. And I mean, it looks
See, yeah.
beautiful there.
So I am of the Fula tribe, F-U-L-A, Fula or Fulani, of the Fula tribe of Guinea-Bissau. Now, there's Fulani and Fula all over the continent, but my bloodline, of course, is on that western coast. And what's going on in Africa right now? There are several countries who are participating in something called repatriation. And so what that means is that if you can show that through DNA, that your bloodline originated in that country, then you can apply for citizenship.
Oh, wow.
Of that country, which I did. And so there are groups who are helping that to take place. So again, universe being perfect, it'll put those things in front of you. So as I did research, after finding out that I am maternally Fula, I came across Repat Guinea-Bissau. And this is a group that helped me when I went there. You know, they had everything lined up on my itinerary to the point where my paperwork, all of that, to the point where on my birthday, on my 60th birthday, I stepped foot in my ancestral village. When I went back, I took everybody back. You understand, that whole bloodline, and that is huge. When I returned, I started a nonprofit organization called Fula History and Genealogy Society in America. And one of the first tenets is just to raise awareness about generational trauma. You know, people just don't even know that trauma is passed down through DNA. Research has trauma is passed. So we're carrying trauma that we're completely unaware of.
Bruce
just
Lipton.
Because that's
he's
bloodline,
yeah, he's like
DNA.
done a lot of research in this as well. And a doctor, what is it? Bruce. Actually, I'm not sure how much he's proven exactly, but he's made the case for like that
generational trauma.
It's stored
DNA.
in your DNA. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting.
And of course, the second tenet is to create, establish, and promote educational materials for the sense of self in Generation Alpha. So you see how all of that just kind of comes full circle. On my website, on the website, fulaamerican.org, and I documented through written word and pictures and videos my whole experience of being in Africa. Because not after I left Guinea-Bissau, I went over to Egypt and I spent 2 weeks there. The blog is called My Soul's Journey Home. If one was to go and they was to go, just click on that blog that's on the website, go to chapter 7. They would see the video of me actually stepping foot and how I was received
Hmm.
by my ancestral village and the Fula people.
Oh,
Boy,
wow.
did they welcome me, and boy, did we feast that day. Because like I said, when I went back, I took everybody back, and it takes, I think it takes that one person, you know, in the bloodline, and that's any bloodline. I would believe to break that, because I think all bloodlines have experienced trauma, and their traumas, their ways. We can speak about the Holocaust. The and what's even going on right now. In Palestine and Israel. All of that trauma through the bloodline. So
Mm-hmm.
every family needs that one son or one daughter that speaks their mind, right? Doesn't like being told what to do, and is
Mm-hmm.
low key healing the generational trauma that no one seems to be aware of.
Yeah, that's my wife right now, I think.
Yeah, okay.
On her side of things, yeah, for sure. Anyways, I won't go into the. I probably, yeah, that's her
but
that's
you
her
but you feel
story.
that connected, that resonated with you, right?
Yeah, no, I totally
That code,
understand
yeah.
everything. Yeah,
Hmm.
you're speaking about on that. Um, so for someone who's still on the fence about moving abroad,
Mm.
what's one like internal shift they can make for a change to take place for them, to like make them take that leap, you know, see
What they have to
the
do?
matrix and exit.
They have to see themselves someplace. They have visualizing will bring about manifesting. You got to see it. You got to see yourself there. Oh boy, I imagined myself. I imagined myself being there. I imagined myself taking uh hiking those mountains. I imagined myself sitting by, the lake. I imagined myself taking walks. I imagined myself enjoying the weather. I imagined, and that's another thing that they don't want you imagining. If we can keep them distracted with a whole bunch of other stuff and not seeing themselves doing that or being that or feeling that. So if you can get there here first through imagination, just visualizing, all the rest of that will start moving in that. You'll get a momentum in that direction, you know, uh, uh, because it'll feel good, you know, you want to feel good. It starts with a feeling is like feelings is like a GPS uh, system, and you will know where you are emotionally with your uh, emotional GPS. What do I call it? EPS. And that's what we're doing, really. Is we're all just, that's a whole nother conversation, possibly, is talking about that living new earth now, or consciously being. When I say new earth, people would get, oh, new earth, that's woo woo. No, it's not a place. Actually, it's a
Yeah,
state
it's
of
like a
being.
state of
It's a
mind. Yeah.
state of mind. It's that's no, it's a frequency, if you will. Okay, it's a bandwidth, because just talking about the our energetic selves, because that's, we're just clothed in this thing here.
Mm.
We're consciousness clothed in flesh.
Hmm.
God in me. Expressing itself as me and is me. Okay, so, but to get that kind of understanding, or that awakening, it's dimensional, actually. The third dimension, that's being led by your ego. That's programming and conditioning. you know. But as one awakens to that, and they start doing the work, because it's work, you know, uh, awakening.
Fascinating.
You, yeah.
So
Thank
so
you.
so for that person who is on the fence about moving abroad, they can essentially they can visualize themselves in the place, use the
Yes.
emotional positioning system essentially to like
Yes.
feel
Feel
that
it.
those emotions surrounding like that move, whether it's apprehension, and if there is apprehension, they can then recognize like, oh, why am I feeling this way, and
There we go.
then use that as like the driver to push
Yeah.
them.
And you when you're visualizing, I would go to YouTube and just put something in, because I wanted to see it. you know I wanted to see people who are already there. What are they saying about it? you know and so then I can start visualizing myself. You're gonna probably need help with this, so go to YouTube and put it in, put in a place. But I see myself doing it, and because I see myself doing it, it'll be done.
Right on. The time has just flown by here. It's been fascinating
See, that's another
conversation.
thing. That's another thing about New Earth. There's no time. There's no
Hmm.
concept of time.
Just finally, if you could leave sort of listeners with one consideration, a single action, reflection that they could take this week to start like aligning their life with their truth, and if they want to be abroad, like what is one thing that you would just admit, like start here?
Yeah,
Yeah, what would that be?
and I would say thank you for that. I would say start seeing yourself doing something different.
Hmm.
Just start with visualizing, or just ignite your or reactivate your imagination. It's waiting on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's waiting on you. Reactivate your imagination and see yourself doing something different.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that's it.
Um,
That's
well,
what I
Queen,
would
this has
leave.
been a fascinating conversation.
It has.
Where can listeners find you? I know I'll put it all in the show notes, but just kind of briefly, I know you're pretty prolific here from what I've seen online. So, just yeah, like
Well, I
kind of the
tell you,
main.
if they were to go to Fula, FULA American.org, there, there's one tab that just kind of talks about that nonprofit. There's another tab with 52 insights there. There's another tab with my 16 chapter blog, as it relates to my trip to Africa, uh, there. And then all the regular, and I'm glad you put it there. I'm on Substack now, Queen's Corner. There's a 12 chapter uh, blog of keeping tabs in Mexico already there. And every Thursday, I have scheduled the 16 chapter blog on my trip to Africa. It's already there. So yeah, Substack, and then the regular, Instagram, Fula American, Instagram, Fula American on Facebook, Fula American on LinkedIn.
You've had a busy decade.
Tell
So
me
that
about right, right. Yeah,
okay,
that's where
yeah,
they can
all right,
find me. Yeah, Fula
nice. I'll
American.
yeah, you'll get a whole bunch of you'll get a whole bunch of follows probably right after this. So,
Oh wow, how cool is that?
no, I just mean yeah, like for me, I'm gonna go and hopefully yeah, and
Well,
hopefully
thank you.
other people will too. They will discover this. It's yeah, it's important work that you're doing. So,
Thank you
um,
so much.
thanks again for coming on. This was fun, and yeah, all the best in Mexico and on your yeah your
My
future endeavors
journeys.
here. You're keeping busy,
Thank
so
you.
that's great.
Yeah. Thanks so much. It's been
Awesome.
a plum pleasing pleasure. And remember this: one light, one love.
Right on. Thanks so much.